I'ma get medieval on your ass.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, you got to dig that opening.
I love it every time. Every time it gets me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Gettin Medieval. This is episode 2. I am Alexander Storm. Over to the other hand, that is the incomparable Dr. Brentling. And down below is our moderator from the Sorlek Digest podcast YouTube channel, Darth Moocher. I turn it over to you, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I want to see all those clips that you put in the intro, and I want to watch them all. Like all those references and everything. It just makes me happy every time. So great job on that. So we're into Rings of Power episode 5. We got 5 episodes in, 3 left and everything. But before we get into the breakdown and kind of talking about some speculations on where the season's going, I know again, it's all positive in my direction, and I know talking to you guys, it's around the same thing. And I want to know first off, before we get into all this stuff, so Lord of the Rings in general, how you guys consume it. Okay, do you guys do a yearly binge? Do you guys just kind of like put on a random Lord of the Rings film, or maybe read a book or something? Like, how do you guys consume your Lord of the Rings, or is it just when it's kind of like new? And I kick it off, like, for example, like for me, every November, because it's fall, I feel that's Lord of the Rings season for me. So starting November 1st, I binge. I go from, I had been doing order of release. Mm-hmm. And then now I think I'm going to start with chronological. So I'll do Rings of Power 1, 2, The Hobbit, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. But I do that every year. November is my year. Do you guys do the same thing, or just whenever it comes up?
I don't have like any set kind of a thing. It's sometimes if I just feel like it and want to put something
just
on,
put it on. Yeah,
but I do have specific ones I like the extended versions.
Always extended versions.
Beautiful set that look like the books.
Yes.
Now, I like Two Towers and Return of the King extended. But I think that the theatrical cut of Fellowship is so much better.
Yeah.
It just really, like, the pacing of it is amazing.
I agree.
And if I'm gonna watch something, it's actually Fellowship that I will watch out of all the others.
Nice. I agree with that, as far as like that theatrical version of it. Because watching that extended, there's some abrupt cut things that are going on, and you're like, I don't remember it this way. But do you happen to like, watch Fellowship and then immediately want to watch it? You might not get to it, but like, all right, I got to see where this is going. I got to see this. I got to see it through.
Well, you know what I'll usually do if I don't have time to watch the entire thing, I will watch the opening like 10 minutes because Gandalf and the Balrog is amazing.
Yes. And just to know that he comes back.
Yeah, I had no idea that was coming in the theater when I first sat down to watch it. And that's the only one I saw twice in a theater, and specifically for that and Helm's Deep.
That's awesome. What about you, Alex? Do you binge these movies at all, or is it just...
I end up doing The Hobbit more. Like I said, the Lord of the Ring one, sometimes Dr. Brentley will know, famously, I was working 2 jobs at the time, and I went to go see the Two Towers. And I remember I fell asleep in the theater in like one section, and I think I was out for like 30 minutes, and I woke up and they were still in the same battle.
Yeah.
Like, wow. So, like I said, I enjoy the other ones. I don't like the extended editions because it's just a little too long for me. So I normally will go through just the standard theatrical releases. But yeah, I always consume The Hobbit, man. You know, like it's
Hobbit's great, man. Like I don't care if they took a book this big and made it 3 films. I'm like, it should be more. You know what I mean? Like here's how obsessed I am with Middle Earth, is that not only do I just do the whole chronological order and binge everything, I actually do all the makings of and the storytelling aspect. And I love the behind the scenes that Peter Jackson put together, especially for The Hobbit. It was very in depth. the web series that he did for Lord of the Rings. I mean, I consume it as much as I can in the month of November. Like November every year is my Tolkien world, is my Middle Earth binge. You know, I put Star Wars aside for a second, and I put it, and I just can't get enough, man.
Well, I do appreciate that, first of all, because I haven't told you this, but I actually worked on the behind the scenes of The Hobbit. I did the audio for the web series.
Whoa, okay. Well, I love it.
So I will intersperse some behind the scenes because my company did the trailer for the original Lord of the Rings before they even shot anything.
Yeah.
So all we had was like their computer test footage of the armies attacking each other.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that recently. I saw that.
We did that a little bit.
That's great. Well, I'm a big fan. Like, you know, I guess that's those web series is like probably the perfect thing ever to be made. You know, Peter.
It was a lot of fun to work on, and he was, you know, making the movies at the time, so we had to like be waiting late at night so he could watch it early in the morning over there, you know.
Nice.
All the time stuff.
Yeah,
but
I'm totally fascinated with the process, you know, and especially like that, like how they did it and dedicating 3 years to these, you know, these films and filming, not just post. It's all, you know, it's just that's why I was like, just hey, what's another 10 years, Peter Jackson? Like, come on, let's go.
You got the time. You got the time.
Yeah.
But no, the same way I love all the special effects stuff by Weta. Deeply enrooted with the them as a design house compared to Industrial Light and Magic. You've got to put like Weta as the number 2 destination in the world. If not, sometimes they almost took number 1 for a little while.
I think they might, because they do all the Planet of the Apes stuff. Those are amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to get that and kind of get our how we kind of consume Lord of the Rings and everything.
But you know what?
It's always fun. Yeah.
We should, though, you know, since we're doing this weekly series, we should devote the month of November to that. Yeah. We should just do that for all the episodes in November. And I think that's the best way. We make annually November the month where you just binge it all.
Yeah, I've been doing it because, again, it's fall. It's like the weather is I don't know what it is. It's just like it makes me just want to stay home and put Lord of the Rings on, you know, all of it. And I can't stop once I start. So it's like I can't just like nitpick. I have to like, all right, if I'm going to do The Hobbit, I'm doing The Hobbit, you know, 9 hours of The Hobbit, you know, 12 hours of Lord of the Rings, extended version, everything. So it's fun, you know. Like I said, this storytelling, especially in Rings of Power, it's a fun world, and I said this last week. I am in no way an expert in Tolkien lore and everything. I know just enough to kind of like pinpoint different things and recognize certain things, you know. And the first thing I want to say is that anybody listening and whatever, and this. Everything is that we're seeing live action is an adaptation of Tolkien's work. So it's hard to do a 1-by-1 verbatim, taking true. I mean, like, you know, doing stuff without taking liberties is a very, very, very tough thing, because again, the world that he built is so complicated and not finished, but yet fleshed out, but yet not finished. And it's hard to dedicate that and put it into a live action and a storytelling linear process, because what we're seeing in Lord of the Rings the whole age spans a few thousand years, you know what I mean? There's a lot going on, and I think that a lot of people that are, you know, that are way into Tolkien and way into it, I think they're looking at things that are not happening, or these people aren't around. Galadriel wouldn't have done that. You know, Isildur's not even born at the times the rings were made. I mean, so I was like, how do you get past that? It's like, well, there's the source material stuff. You can live in that, and it's great, and you still study it to this day. But then there's the taken liberty adaptation of that into a series like this. You know, I'm glad that they're dedicating 5 seasons, like we said last week. You know, it's something that they're going to finish. And the fact that we're into season 2, 5 episodes in, and we're creating the Rings of Power for men already. And so now I figure we're going to have 3 seasons of Sauron really manipulating and taking over. And we're going to see this deterioration of Middle Earth the way it's, but it is in a fast paced mode. You know what I mean? It's almost how like Walking Dead took their, but I mean, it is and it isn't, right? So it's like, they're taking the events of Walking Dead and they're putting in the show as is, but then they're taking liberties on what characters died and whatever. But you know, this is a loosely example of that. You know, I mean, like what Rings of Power is, they're doing some very, very correct things. It's just that we got to put our mindset in this bubble of this is a small time frame that's going to explain 2,000 years plus, you know, of lore.
Imagine trying to tell a story from biblical times till now, right? And making it make sense. And it's like, well, okay, we have to have some of these people that were in Roman times. We got to have a couple of the people from the Reformations and the Dark Ages, and then we have to have some more modern people too, and you know, put them somewhere in the middle. It's again tough. For entertainment purposes, I think they're doing a fantastic job. It doesn't
doesn't bother me at all that again like they're doing things, and it also makes me go back and try to reinforce some things. Like let me see if that really did that happen that way, and I go back and study it and look it up or try it, because again you're trying to thumb through the similarity, and exactly I didn't take notes, all right, so you know but the show is making me do that, and they're like, oh, this happened, it's gonna be interesting to see how they got from here to here, right? Like so what, like for example, like when we take the dwarves in this episode 5, first off, I don't. Again, guys, I don't know how the show keeps getting better every episode. I do find myself. I didn't want this, like when I was watching this episode, and I was like, please don't go to the Harfoots, please don't, just for today. I mean, not that I don't like them. Because I think that the whole the stranger thing, I think is very interesting, seeing where they go with that. But I was just very concentrated on Sauron, the rings that the dwarves got, the powers that are happening to King Durin. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one who's distributing them to all the 7 dwarf families, or you know, of the, you know, them, and like, and you feel what his power is doing with the ring he took. It's causing him to speak to the mountains, right?
Well, but also, and his son is seeing how it's changing. Exactly. He wasn't greedy before, and now he's doing this and asking for all this tax and tribute.
It's
great. I love it. And so, but then his father also comes to him and he's like, I'm sorry, I love you, son. And so it's all the things his son wants from him as well. Exactly. And it's the ring doing bad stuff, looking like it's good.
Sauron's power is his ability to find people's strengths and weaknesses and exploit them. So when these rings are created, and so dwarves are greedy, and they know that's going to be their downfall. They're not as easily corruptible as men, you know what I mean? But dwarves are going to, they're going to destroy themselves, which we will definitely see, because we see that it's not spoiler, because we see that happening in Rings of Power, or Lord of the Rings. Maybe this is too late to put a spoiler disclaimer, but we are spoiling the hell out of Rings of Power every time this episode.
This is why you're watching. This says recap.
It says it's a week after it's come out.
It's a week after. So as we're talking, episode 6 is going to be dropping, but we're giving everybody plenty of time to consume it. So, go ahead, Alex.
The same aspect is that I love when the Elder Duran was like, you know, when he said, "Well, where's my ring at?" That's the point where you're like, "Uh-oh." Like, this is getting to the next level here. And you start seeing all the corruptibility that these rings are bringing. And he said, remember, you took it off because your arm was heavy. Oh, yes.
Because it was heavy.
And you're like, wow. Like,
I didn't know this.
Like, man.
Yeah, because I don't know of any of this type of like effects that the rings have on the ring bearers themselves, you know? So adding this element of like, these are inevitably corrupted rings that are going to be ruled by one, right? So you would think that there's going to have some similarities when Frodo had the ring or when Bilbo had it. It was like the panic of losing it, the weight of it. It felt so heavy. I have to, this is my precious, right? So I like that it's built into these physical things. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the one ring, because the great thing about it is like Sauron's given the ability to heal the world, or he's creating danger in the world, and he's given these people like the elves and the dwarves and men, he's going to give them the ability to do what their desires. You know what I mean? King Durin wanted to heal the mountain. He did it, right? So, and it's going to go with the elves and all this stuff. And that's the brilliance of it. And I, because after you give them such a fragile state that they have to save their worlds, and that's what they're using these rings of power for. They're going to desire them. It's so easily to create that one to rules them all,
Exactly.
And it's great dynamics, man. The dwarves are my favorite, hands down.
They are, yeah. They are. Well, because elves in this series have just proven to be kind of gullible, to be quite honest with you. You know, it's like they are manipulated and doing a bunch of things. But while the dwarves, even from the elder Duran that was suspectable of the elves in season 1 to now his son turning, it's that conflict that makes it like they weren't ready to just jump into the fire out of the beginning. That's what makes this part interesting to see on the screen.
Yeah. Like, to me, the elves have always been like, they've always been the rulers of the Middle Earth and everything, but they're very quick to be like, screw this, lads, we're going to Valinor. Like, you guys just kill each other. We don't care. Elrond does it in Lord of the Rings. Gil-galad does it, or he's trying to do it now. But the fact that he healed the tree, and we'll get into his visions later that scares the crap out of him. Like, oh, I think we made a mistake here. That he does come to terms with it a little bit, but at the same time, they're very self-concerned about elves and their place. But they're like, we've got Valinor to sail to. If shit goes down, we're going now. We're going west. You know what I mean? And that's
Also, I think these are quick fixes. And it seems
100%.
like it's because, his son said, no, that's a foundation stone. You can't do that.
Exactly.
His father went right through it. And it's like, hey, look, it's sunshine. It's but this is not going to hold for as long as it would.
These are Band-Aids. These are Band-Aids. And Sauron knows this. It's like, because you think about, I'm going to heal this. I'm going to give you the power to have that insight and heal what's been dreading you guys. Like I said, the elven tree was dying, right? Well, they got the rings. Oh, life came back. But it's the power of the ring. You know what I mean? Like, to know this is lore right here. When the one ring was destroyed, that means all rings lose their power. So that's why the age of, and Elrond knew this, and that's why they're sailing west at the end of Return of the King, because it's like, we've got nothing anymore. It's done. And that's why the Age of Men it's time to reign. Just a little tidbit there. It's all tied into Sauron's plan, and so, but everything's brinker on the tip, right? Like these are foundation things to grow everything. But I mean, you guys, he didn't want to dig deep for Mithril, but there's going to start just dig everything out of there, and they're going to awaken the Balrogs, right? They're going to awaken the Balrogs.
Oh, it's already awoken.
Yeah.
She heard it.
I mean,
which was such a great scene on its own.
I love it. Yeah. I like her, man. I dig her. She's awesome. I do like the fact that not everybody is duped. You know what I mean? Like, Elrond has the suspicions, Durin has the suspicions, and everybody's like, look, this is too easy. Like Brantley was saying, it's like, hey, wait a second. We got this power to fix, but we're not. How is this going to come back to bite us?
Exactly.
You know what I mean, and I think there's characters that play that, and that's why there's that conflict. But yeah, King Durin kind of go into Sun and give him the jewel back as the prince, and be like, and he's just like, I don't know what to do. It's my dad, and it's like, you know what I mean?
And it's a very good storyline, because again, it's like the son wants the approval of the father. It seems like he never gets it. And now this time, for the first time, he says, I need you. I can't go down this path.
Yeah, because of your alliance with the elves, you gave us these power. It's like,
And so again, now he's manipulating his son into this boundary as well. And I love how Dizza was like, promise me you'll never wear those rings.
Yeah.
And it's because everyone outside of it can see what destructive path this is. So
Yeah.
again, very subtle but amazing writing this episode.
Yeah, like I said, it's a tough job to take. Like we were talking about in the beginning, here, it's a tough job to take that and then put it into an entertainment live action format, to where, yes, we've got to take a lot of liberties and we've got to speed things up, and we're writing things simultaneously to kind of coincide. But at the same time, at the end, it all makes sense, and it's like, relax, we'll get there. What everybody wants to see, and what we want to see is Sauron. Everybody just wants to see Sauron and his corruption and manipulation of everything. But the whole thing about the Balrog coming, like I said, last season they teased him awakening. You know, I saw someone on the internet saying that pool that I forgot her name, Durin's wife.
Oh, Deza,
what she dropped that little crystal thing and rolled into that pool, that the whole cavern. Somebody said that might be the cavern where Gandalf and the Balrog fell, and he slayed him in the first place. So so that's where he came from. You know what I mean? After so fast forward so many years. So we'll see what happens here. So Khazad-dûm is going under. You know, we've got Numenor. I mean, they're having some problems over there.
And that storyline, I think they were taking a lot from Game of Thrones, like the style of the human interaction, because I did love this stuff with the captain and his son. And then the little jerk boy. Oh man.
Yes.
But tell me you didn't see that coming. Though.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
The minute that he dropped the sword, tell me you did not see that coming.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Good note. Let's see. I wrote it down here because again, names are every name. Valindil is the guy that is Isildur's best friend that got killed.
Okay.
Isildur names his first son Valindil, so as homage to him, you know. So that is a cool thing, you know, to that's going to happen. But that whole thing. Okay, so in Numenor, there's a race, the race of men there, that the biggest men, the kingdom of men there, they're most prosperous. They have the fleet. They're powerful. They've grown to despise elves and elf culture, all that stuff, except for the few that they call themselves the faithful. The faithful, they still that's why Elendil still speaks Elvish. And in season 1, he was like, how dare you, you know, like, you still speak the ancient languages and stuff, and that's forbidden in these lands. And because the men there were grown to despise the elves, you know, even though they were given this island and flourished there and whatnot. And it has a lot to do, and it's going to have a lot to do with, I'm trying to set this up, of the demise of Numenor and what happens to it. I don't want to go too far into it because I don't know if it's a spoiler or if it's going to be something that how they change it. But it's very important to know, to keep in mind that the men there that despise Elvish culture is Pharazôn, the guy who took the king from
took the mantle.
Took the mantle. They're amongst the ones that they're not. There's the faithful, and then there's the other ones. And the queen there, that she at the end there, she was like, I could see it. I know what's happening, because she had that vision of Numenor being flooded, right? The big sundering that happens, and that has a lot to do with, like I said, I don't want to go too far into it because I don't know if they're gonna. That's a lot of story there. But if they're gonna change it in a way, I'm excited to see how they do it. So I don't want to talk my way out of. They can't do this because Sauron has a lot to do with it too.
Oh yeah.
But he's been there already, so I don't know. There's
I will give Dr. Brentley credit though. I do think that they did lift that from Game of Thrones, because there's a lot more when you're in Numenor. You're more or less going back and forth with the politics.
100%.
Built the structure, and it seems very much where you're getting, and that's the one thing I'll give on the show. When you're in the land of the dwarfs, it's completely a different kind of politics and situations happen. And then when you're in the land of the elves and so when we take a look at this island, the sea captain, all the individuals, and you see them going from one point of existence and belief to that being completely shattered, and it seems like it's in a small amount of time, which we know it's not, of course, but it's so impactful as a storyteller that you're like, yeah, we need to naturally see this happen on the streets.
Yeah.
See how the sea captain's daughter basically betrays him. You know, all these things.
That I hate her right now.
Oh yeah. Well, there's not a lot of people on the other side that you can't hate.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good. We want to hate. That's the character.
You need new villains. You need new villains.
Fictional.
In every land.
Yeah, she's not in the books. She's a made up character for this. But
you know, making things happen in Numenor, right? It's like you've got to have different sides with different ideas. One could be betrayed by Sauron and, you know, brings it upon the other people. You don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing I was trying to get. I was like, the whole corruption and everything that happens in Numenor is Sauron's influence and in the Silmarillion and everything, right? So the way they're going about it seems to be, like I said, this more political and corrupt, showing the fact that men are easily corrupted. And that was like a big thing for the Rings of Power. Now Pharazôn, I think he's going to be one that's going to get the ring, you know, a ring of power. You know, he's going to be one of them. And of course, we'll find out others because in this episode again, Anatar was brilliant on like, we got to get the men their rings, you know, and why? Because they're easily corruptible. But like I said, with Numenor, there's a lot of speculation that Pharazôn is going to be the Witch King, the you know, one of the Nazgul, but the Witch King. Like, and I was, if someone was saying, oh, it's his son, I'm like, no, it's got to be Pharazôn. Pharazôn is the one, because I like that better. I like him as a, you know, I think that would be interesting if he ends up being a Nazgul. Well, if he gets a ring, he will be, but like the Witch King, you know. Well, that'd be awesome.
It looks like too, though, because again, they are taking liberties, and again, remember, and you know, like we will mention this numerous times with Dr. Brenton and I are screenwriters. Lord of the Rings is not something that I would be happy to accept as a job. Because I know that we're going to have to take numerous liberties because there's a lot of unspoken rules and things that's done with it. But you're going to have to do it to make it entertainable. You're gonna have to.
You have not 8 hours long.
Well, you have to, because you can easily put 5 seasons on Numenor itself, and then you ignore everything else. And that's why I love the fact that it jumps and it goes from here to here to here, and all these moving pieces are happening at once, and it's a great way of storytelling. Again, and there's some people might disagree, and they want 5 seasons of what happens in Numenor, because again, Sauron, you know, he's involved in their downfall big time, and everything that happens, but he's already been there as Halbrand, right? In the show, he's been there as Halbrand, and so I'm trying to think, like, there were certain aspects of things that he planted seeds and did things that in the lore it took a lot more, and it was a lot more manipulation, and there was a lot more to it. But if the show does it this way, again, I'm accepting it as I'm good with it. You know what I mean? And so again, I know that there's going to people that be like, no, it's too, it's not powerful enough, or it's too subtle, or what. But I think that, and inevitably, like I said, we're going to get Sauron at his best, and we're going to love it all the way through, because even though what we're getting through with Anatar, it's brilliant already. And as this storytelling or this adaptation of it, I'm like, all right, cool. I don't need all that Numenor stuff. I want.
I can ask you, do you want 5 seasons or do you want 20 seasons?
Yeah,
because
I mean,
it's not going to go 20 seasons.
Yeah.
Again, you would need that amount of time to throw all this up.
100% that. And again, and if you focus too much on it, you're going to lose the bigger picture of a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's why it's great to, like, let's visit Numenor. Let's go visit the Harfoots. Let's go visit Anatar and Gilgrad and Glad. I mean, there's, like I said, moving parts, and it's doing it in a very cool pace of it. And
well, I'll ask you this: is that, you know, do you want to see a show that stays placed in one land or do you want to see what's
I like it
happening
like
in
this.
the entire world?
Yeah, I like
And
it like this.
I think most people will be like, look, I don't get bored with the series because I don't know every episode what I'm in for. It could be mainly the elves. It could be an episode like this last one was mostly centered around Numenor and the dwarves. You know, that's what keeps me entertained. I don't know what's going on. I don't even have a specter of like, well, I know that we're going to do this and that. It's like it's jumping so much.
Yeah.
Even missing like 5 minutes or so, it's one of those things that you need to pause the show. You need, because if you miss 5 minutes, you've missed the whole world that things have gone into.
Like I said, it's doing twofold for two different kind of viewers. One that's viewing this and just like, this is great, I'm living, like they don't know of like the time, like it's the span of so many years, and they're just watching something cool unfold. And I think like today, that's a very important aspect of entertainment. And then two, for me, like looking at it, it makes me go back and go like, oh, okay, let's reinforce. Oh, okay, they didn't put this character in there. Oh, they added this character. Or and sometimes I'm like, cool, because that was boring. You know what I mean? Like what it could have done would have been very boring. It gets too much. It's sometimes it's just too much going on, and this way of breaking it down in a simple form, but yet complicated at the same time. Makes a lot of sense. Again, if the average person go in there and be like, yeah, check out what Galadriel did today, check out what Elrond did today, you know what I mean? And then of course everybody's going to put the Lord of the Rings movies in their head too, as that comparison, and I think it's going to be great butt ends by the end of this whole thing. You know what I mean?
And week to week gives you the opportunity to do research on something maybe that the episode brought up that you didn't understand. You can do a little research, catch yourself up before the next week comes in, and then you've got another, at the end of that episode, another set of good resources, or you're looking on online articles and things, just like you said, there's people putting up in chats and everything like, well, what did I miss? Oh no, this is going to happen there. It makes you go back and read.
It does.
Books.
The great thing about Tolkien's work or this is that you're studying Middle Earth as real history. You're trying to put it as something that actually happened, and you're trying to put series of events that actually happened, and it's and like it's I just, anybody who knows me and everybody who tries, I always try to live in the moment of it rather than oh, that's complete lore breaking and I can't watch anymore. It ruined it for me. I'm like, how did it ruin? You still have everything. You could go there, you could visit there. But this is a way of getting it, kind of like a visual representation. Well, I think it's the only way to do it.
Well, this is why it's great to release it week to week and not all at once, because you do have time to like, okay, well, let's do a little research on this. But let's be honest, this whole thing is sort of the template of Game of Thrones. Yes. It's because they have so many places, up north, you got King's Landing, you got, all these different places. Yeah. So you have to go and spend some time here and some time here. You can't do everything all at once, or just spend, an entire season at Winterfell. That's going to bore you to death.
Exactly. Yeah. I know someone was telling me that they were kind of bored with the Numenor stuff. And I'm like, oh, but I said, that's fine if it's slower pace, because it's not evil and it's not like manipulative like Sauron's doing. But it's important. It's so important to get this, because this is your foundation for Gondor. It's your foundation for Aragorn. It's a foundation for everything that you know and love coming up. Right? It starts here, and what happens affects everything. You know what I mean? And so I always said, just like you say, we're not going to sit there for a whole episode for this, but we're going to have, maybe an hour total from a whole season on this. But what's happening now is that you see this corruption again, and it's so great. And so there was that when Pharazôn took the scepter for himself, and he saw the eagle came down. The eagle came down. he took that as a sign for him, but it was a sign for her, right? And of course he got everybody to uprise. And then when Elendil touched the Palantir, he saw a different vision. And I'm bringing this up because it's important, because she saw it as doom and destruction for Numenor, right? And then he described his vision of riding away from whatever, or whatever. And so in her mind, it was like, oh, then maybe the future was changed. Like whatever I saw is not going to come to fruition. So that's going to help things, or help the destruction happening versus the warning sign. She's taking it as, oh, wait a minute. So if you saw a different future, and I think everybody sees the same future because her dad saw the same future and what she was using it for. But that's not how it does work, right? So it's interesting what they were setting up, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out on that. And I'm glad they're using it. And of course, Farazan at the end, seeing the Plantier, right? He's like, he's going to use it too, and I think he's going to see something completely different. And I hope it's like something about the Nazgul. I hope it's something about that, and he doesn't run away from it, like, because that'll give us confirmation of like if he's one of them, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think they did a great job within the city walls and the whole politics behind it, the uprising, the people that are going through the extremes of getting rid of everything that's old and wants everything to be new. It runs, and again, when people say, well, we're bored with that one section of the thing, you have to have a complex and storyline. Like, no matter important. You can't have all action through 96 minutes of a film and just go on from beginning to end. There has to be moments where you're able to tell the story, move the characters along, and develop other characters. This does it well, and we haven't spent as much time in Numenor like we did in season 1. We spent a small majority this season in it, so I don't know where people.
And now we're getting into like and again, it's I sit back and these things are like an hour 10, and I'm just like, this is so great because the long format storytelling, especially this, and it helps marinate things that are happening versus just like, well, this guy went here and this guy went here and boom, 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 this guy killed this person. No, there's a lot happening here. And it's fantastic. And then going to, like I said, with this episode is just such a great.
It was.
I don't know, man. I know overly positive. I'm sorry. It's cool. All right, we're gonna be honest.
You've got to have a little bit of that in this climate. You need to have a point to tell people, like, no, look, I know that they're struggling in viewership, and a lot of people are like, look, they're going to commit 5 seasons to this. But people are like, well, you're not appreciating it for what it is. And the same vein I'll knock into this is that when we got to see Cumberbatch do Sherlock, were people saying this is not exactly Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's version? No, they took it as a new version of it with completely different liberties. Well, here's the thing. It's not Tolkien's version of Lord of the Rings, and it's not Peter Jackson's version. This is Amazon's version, and we need to give it its time and due respect to build its own shape and lore through it.
It's not over. It's not over. And that's why, like I said, I'm overly positive because I haven't seen it all done. It's not all set and done. So every episode and every scene is a setup for the next thing. It's a buildup, and it very is an energy buildup that just keeps going, upwards, upwards, and you're just like, something's gonna break. The dam is gonna burst here any moment. But then it's like 5 more things are added to it, and 5 more things are added to it, and it's like, this is great. The tension's there. Again, and it's not all done. We're like, if you're on the fence on this, see it through, and then you make a okay, it wasn't for you, it didn't represent Tolkien's world the way that it should be. That's fine. That's you consume it the way you consume it. But I'm always at the going towards anything I view is I got to see it through, and I want to see A through Z. I got to see it all. And if it takes the next 10 years to do it, I'm going to be here for it. I'm going to talk about the cool things that I see. I'm not going to go and be like, that was lore breaking. It sucks. It's this. The orcs don't have babies. It's like, come on. It's okay.
And embrace something a little differently. Look, I would have never stuck through Game of Thrones if it wasn't for Dr. Brentley. Like, I sat through that first, I said, this shit is boring. Like, what?
I'm like, wait, 3 or 4 episodes.
Give it a little time. And then there's a point where I think we were on like 2 seasons of when are they gonna kill this kid? Like,
Yeah.
for God's sake. And then when it got to that, then it was like, there's
Yeah.
highs, there's lows, but that's
it's
how
all
good entertainment. We want
Yeah.
you to invoke emotion. We
Yeah.
want you to, like, when we write, we want you to hate a certain villain. We want you to love something. In the same exact way with this series, they're giving you a nice roller coaster. So just give it a little time.
This is a world we get to live in. Like I said, it's a sandbox we get to live in and be happy that we're living in it, no matter if things aren't panning out as far as like time wise. It just can't do it.
You said that like the rings were forged 1,000 years before most of this stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Well, I actually love this part where you see him as he's sort of convincing him to forge the rings.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, well, that second time it was kind of our fault. He's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, you did lie to the king. So these have some deceit in them when they were being made. So we have to make them for men. And, oh, well, if you're not going to do it, I'll do it. And that's, wait a second. So it's all this stuff. And it's more interesting, I think, to see how they're being forged and these bad intentions are being manipulated and slowly put in, but you would get none of this. It was like, well, here's these 19 rings,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
And Sauron / Anatar's role and the manipulation of Celebrimbor, it's like, you're not going to do these, I'll do it myself. And then he conjured this kind of like accident that happens that made him go like, all right, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna do it. And how like you lied to your king, it's your fault. It's again, that is Sauron's power. That's his superpower, is manipulation and seeing things through people and knowing what's in their heart. So he knows how to talk to them and do things. And because Celebrimbor was like, we're done. We got the rings to the dwarves. We got the doors of Durin that were identical to Peter Jackson.
It was identical.
I loved it.
We know what's going to happen through that.
Yeah, and, I love it. And
Celebrimbor, one aspect that I'll give to him too is at one point he figured out the manipulation.
He did,
because when he was celebrating,
he was like,
and he goes, "Well, wait a minute, man." He it's kind of a flip, and that is the subtleness of how well they have written Sauron. Because now when you look at, like, if you go watch the Peter Jackson version of him, this guy had a plan, and his plan was all over the place, but very manipulative to the point where he would have that one ring. And that's where it becomes like, it's a great piece of work. It's everything. If you're into Shakespeare, if you love any of these old kind of tropes, it's there. It's a classic story.
This is the foundation of mythos, man.
Journey, a villain's rise and its defeat. It's all there. And that's why I said, when people were like, the viewership's down. Well, the viewership's down because people have been taught to love Peter Jackson's version of it.
Sure.
Yet, though, you've got to understand there are more than one way, and we'll see how well Peter Jackson's version is taken.
But also,
when he has his animated point, they love that in the same way. We're going to see that in December this year.
Yeah, you got one hand people saying viewership is down, but then Amazon comes out and says viewership is at 40 million. It's our biggest. It's a hit. And so I'm like, am I going to take a guy on Twitter saying it, or am I going to take Amazon's word? Are they manipulate? Who knows? But
here's one thing that Amazon did do that I was highly impressed about. If you look and you check in, because again, we're in the industry, so we do this a little bit. I've noticed when you check into the Amazon one, there is almost 20 to 25 different languages, subtitling and language already built into this.
Right.
That's where this is not just for the consumption of us in the United States. It's consumption of the entire world.
Yeah.
That's what makes it different than others, because a lot of other shows dub the other voices after one in the American season's done, and then they slide it in after that.
Yeah.
So this one, they're trying to hit as many bang for bucks. When they say 40 million viewership, I can believe there's truly 40 million people watching the show.
Easily. And like, and I do I think people hate watch. I think people love watch. I think people
keep hate watching.
Exactly. Hey, just like, I hate watches of you. You know what I mean? But and you're talking about it. And I mean, like I said, marinating this whole Rings of Power,
Yes.
like the creation of the rings and the reasoning behind it's not just because it's not just an evil mastermind just comes in there, manipulates the guy that makes the rings, then he goes about and rules the world. No, there's a lot of thought. There's a lot of course correction. There's a lot of different things. I know Sauron is worried about the elven rings because he did not influence them. You know what I mean? He did not touch them. And then in the dwarven ones, he had again took that mithril, put it in there, and it's almost like, I'll create the rings of power for men. If you're not going to do it for me, I'm going to do it. But of course, he does. They'll do it together this time instead of that end. And it's gonna. That's why. And it's so important for Sauron to create the rings of power for men because, again, they're so easily corruptible. We see it in Numenor, and he even throws that in Celebrimbor's face. I'm worried for Numenor. Like they need help. These rings healed your lands. These rings healed the dwarven lands. We need to help them because there's something's going to happen. And it's a perfect manipulation. And then one of the, remember that I said, and to throw it all off and to make Celebrimbor change his mind, I think it's staged myself, but the one, the one's assistant ends up in the shadow world or the shadow thing, and then describing what she sees and how Anatar manipulates her into thinking that's Celebrimbor, but it's really Sauron what she's seeing, like the vision of a man inflamed in flames and stuff. And I'm putting it as she's seeing who Anatar really is, but he comes to her and says, "This is what Celebrimbor's. That's his inevitable fate." And puts that fear into that because again, he's a master manipulator, right? So but the fact that she was in the shadow world, I got goosebumps. I was like, yes, this is awesome. And then we had the vision of Gilgalad, right? When Elrond went to him, the king, and said, Galadriel was right, but all these things, and then we saw his vision, and we saw the death and destruction. We saw Sauron, we saw the orcs. We saw the dead fish. We saw all the stuff. That puts him in that thing like, oh crap, what did we do? Because again, there's a war coming, and it's like there's a war. There's like 15 wars before we get to the main war. But I don't think we're going to get 15 wars. I think it's all going to build up to one. I think what the show is going to build up is going to be the one, maybe two wars. They might have to do two. To where Sauron has, and it's the prologue. We get to the prologue, right? That's my whole thing. I'm always thinking, how are we getting to the prologue?
Well, they can't do 15
I think
time wise.
That's got to be the end of the series.
The prologue is the end of season 5. That's what we're gonna see. Leading up to it is so fun though. To me, I thought that maybe what they were doing with this, like they're teasing that Galadriel and the orcs are going to be teaming up to go after Sauron, right? Yeah, that's what they're hinting at, right?
Then there's also the elves, and it's like, we have to get the army ready. He's like, well, I don't know. Do we send them here or do we send them here to defend ourselves? And I'm thinking they're going to do their own sort of mini version of like the Battle of the Five Armies, where you can have all these different factions coming in and have one gigantic melee.
And what's great, it's all Sauron's doing. He's pitting everybody against each other. He's making it think that Adar's army is Sauron's army coming. He's tricking Gilgalad to think that it's Sauron, to like, do we remain here, or do we go to Celebrimbor, or do we defend that because it's going to be annihilated? And that's what's great about, like I said, all these chess pieces moving. The storm is brewing. It's all happening, and he's doing it all. He's doing it all, sowing the seeds of doubt, sowing the seeds of fear. Because obviously there is no mortar with orcs. There's that vision wasn't true, but Gilgalad thinks it is, and he's going to act upon that, and that might keep him there and not help out where Celebrimbor is at, where Adar is coming. And the show did make it seem like Galadriel is teaming up with Adar, even in the previews, sort of kind of like walking side by side. I don't know. I might be something. I don't know. That's tricky because again, the show is very good at leaning.
Yes.
The show is just like Theron, just leading us through one path, and then it goes to like it splits into like several different things. But
and tell me that your heart doesn't get a tad bit disappointed when it just abruptly ends.
Yeah, because I'm like,
because you're like, I needed like another hour of this to go.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know if you guys do this, but as I'm watching and the show's good, I pause it to see how much time's left. And I'm like, I do it all the time.
The way that they've been hitting this is that they hype you up. Look, the beginnings are great. Yeah. And the endings are great, but right when they hit you, it's like it's as the character's about to end, and then it just, oh no, you can't do this.
Yeah, I knew it as soon as they I was like, oh man, like they captured Galadriel, and again, they have the common enemy, but the enemy doesn't know that. They think it's Sauron coming. You know what I mean? And that's why I feel like this is not the war that I'm thinking what happens. And so, but I do it's episode 6.
Yep.
6 next week. Yeah, this week 6. We think we're gonna get that. We're gonna get Ador. We're gonna get that, and we'll go back. So I think we'll get that, and we're gonna go back to Harfoots, the Stranger.
Yes.
And what's happening out there.
Because we've left them for a little while.
We didn't have them this whole episode.
And then we missed them in 5, so they've got to go back and find out. Look, there's so many great loose ends and things that you have to pull. And I've just got to say, it is such a fun series to constantly sit week in and week out because you just don't know where it's going. That's what makes it entertaining. It's like you don't have to think. Even the source material, it's like you just go in it and it's like, I'm going to enjoy this for what it is. Right. Yeah.
Now. Because I don't think this, I mean, I honestly think when people watch it, they don't just sit there and take like this, I think it's after the fact and they think about it and they revisit and all right, well, they took this and they cut this, they edited this whole part out of it and they just advanced, that's good. It's fun. That's going to be a talking point throughout this whole thing, through all 5 seasons. We're going to be a lot of this, thing. But I do believe when all said and done, I think it's going to butt up right against so when I do my binges in November, it's going to be 5 seasons of Rings of Power and then into the Hobbit and then, Hobbit and then the War of the Rohirrim and then Fellowship.
Yep.
Search for Gollum, Two Towers King. Yeah, so they're doing the Star Wars treatment here. Like,
I hope you're putting in the animated 70s.
Oh man,
like you better. Yeah,
I gotta take about 3-4 weeks off.
No kidding. No, I don't do those. I only do the modern Lord of the Rings stuff. Those are good. But they're very fast. It's like very fast paced, and they don't explain everything.
3 or 4 weeks off. I mean, you need 5 because at that point, after you binged everything, then you have to go through and read all the material. So, like it's a
and the behind the scenes.
And the behind the scenes. Yeah,
all the behind the scenes, all the interviews.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, I guess it's gonna have to be the entire season of fall. So to January 20th. Or December 20th, somewhere around there. That's when, no. Okay, so that's Rings of Power. We're caught up on it. I think we're still here. We're still excited. We're not falling off the bet. We're not falling off of it. I think it's very exciting what they're setting up. And guys, leave your comments in the section below, and we'll get back and get your opinions in, man. Like, hey, and don't be afraid. Don't hold back. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But if you like it, you like it. And if you feel that the show can do what it's doing, let's hear about it, and of course, give a thumbs up and subscribe, because never miss. I mean, we, again, yes, I'm overly positive about the show because I've been very honest. I'm really enjoying it. You know what I mean? As somebody who has dived into Tolkien lore, not an expert in no way. I'm not a scholar, but I try to do my due diligence. I try to study and I try to put it in there, but I don't have the brain power to grasp every single line, every single character, event. There's too much. It's especially like going back to the similarity. There's too much. You got to have cliff notes. You have to have this thing.
But that's not fun to me. Where, you know, if you're just sitting there with a notebook going, oh, wait, they didn't do it like this. No,
Right,
no,
right,
no,
yeah.
This is off by 300 years. I can't watch this now. You know, it's like just sit down.
Yeah.
Let them tell you the story.
Let it finish.
And then after it's over, then you can go back and have, you know, a very detailed discussion of,
Absolutely.
okay, so yeah, they did do this and they moved this, but now I can kind of see why they had to change some of this stuff.
Right. That's, again, constructive criticism and making it a viewing of, like you just said. All right, I understand those creative liberties. I understand how they took those and they had to do it this way. Otherwise, we wouldn't be watching anything. We wouldn't be watching a story. And again, is the reason why Peter Jackson said, "No, I don't want to do it," because he didn't know. Probably was like, "I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start on this." You know,
it's a losing proposition. As these guys are finding out now, it's like we're not going to be able to please everybody. Peter Jackson got very lucky. He pleased a lot of people, but still not everybody.
He held his ground too. Like
I don't know if he had the same expectation going in. He had a expectation, but not the same. This one now, because when he started, it was before the age of social media.
Oh yeah,
He came into the age of social media, and now everyone. It wasn't like when Peter Jackson came. People was like, "It's not going to be as good as that cartoon." Like, no, it's like he didn't have to follow anyone in such a way. Right, the guys in Amazon really have to, like, you know, like now they've got this massive appeal, billion-dollar franchise in front of them, and they spent $1 billion on their franchise. That's hard.
We didn't know if Peter Jackson could do it.
Yeah,
you know? Right. And we still didn't know up until that last movie. It's like, okay, 2 were good. What if he, you know, fails and does not stick the landing?
Well, New Line Cinema did those, right? Or they're the publishing, right? Or the but studio. I remember they did not have faith in they trusted Peter Jackson came and said, like, I'm a fan, let me do this. I need to do this. And so when he started this whole thing and they dedicated all this stuff, I remember that they didn't know who really Peter Jackson was.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they went back in his back catalog and they're like, what did we get ourselves into? This guy did Brain Dead, he did Dead Alive. It's like all these New Zealand horror movies. Again, my favorite. And they were like, oh crap, until the first dailies came in. They're like, oh, well,
this is gonna be good.
This guy might know what he's doing. And take a chance on these horror guys, man. Like they, you know, so a little bit of tidbit news of what I've been hearing. If we move past Lord Rings of Power a little bit and get into the search for Gollum, I heard that it's actually going to be split into 2 movies now.
Yes,
like,
I heard that too.
I heard that rumor.
Yes.
Here we go. Like I said, with the Hobbit treatment, right? If first it was 1 or 2. Okay, we have to split 2 into 3. Again, I'm here for it. Like, I don't care how long it is.
Look, you know, New Line Cinema's like, look, how can we make as much money as possible? Because he was like, I'm going to do it 1 movie. And New Line probably sat down with him like, Peter, you know you need 3 of them. And he's like, no, I'll do 2. Now, by the time it starts shooting, well, here it's going to go to 3. Because I'm going to tell you, New Line's like, every movie is a banger. We know this. It's probably going to end up being 3. They said we're splitting in 2. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 3, man.
Yeah, I can see how they can take, you know, they've got this one story, and I can see them going like, well, that might be a little too much to put into just 1. We can do it in 2, but probably not 2 3-hour movies. Probably more like 2 2.5 hour movies. Something like that.
Definitely be 2.5 hour minimum.
But I don't think it's enough unless they just really start adding a bunch of craziness.
What they'll do, right? Because it's supposed to be a bridge in between actually during Fellowship. It's the events during Fellowship of the Ring. Because again, this is where they might confuse some people, because when Frodo got the ring and when Bilbo took off and Gandalf says, seal it away, I'm going to go see my head in my order. And so when he comes back on that windy day and he says, is it safe? You know, and he throws it in a fire and he reveals this the One Ring. And there is a little bit of a montage of Gandalf going through the library and stuff, and tells Frodo to leave. But that's the search for Gollum, because again, he says it in Fellowships, like, I traced the creature Gollum, but the enemy found him first. And he uttered 2 words, you know, Baggins and Shire. And so the movie we're going to see is going to be this, him, and Aragorn's going, because he sends Aragorn after to find Gollum. Finds out that he's captured by the orcs. The Nazgul get summoned, and so we're gonna see I think we're gonna get the Nazgul in their big time. We're gonna get Aragorn in their big time. We're gonna get we're gonna get a lot in there. So you can really bring in the Nazgul as the main enemy this whole time, right? And tell a huge story. And maybe the corruption of Saruman too, like how he was involved in this. Well, I don't know how they'll do it, but maybe just off screen or CGI. I mean, they've been doing that lately. CGI in the character. So I believe that Peter Jackson and them and Andy Serkis. Come on.
Yeah, wow.
Power couple right there. They will handle it with care, and they're going to give us a story that's going to bridge it. But I was saying be careful, because what I was describing in Fellowship was a 20-year span in the book, in the novels. There's a 20 years between, I think, when Gandalf left and Frodo had the ring and he just lived his life, that it was put away. Even in the Fellowship, when he takes it out of the crate, it's all dusty. It's all, you know what I mean? There's time that passed. And so the movie really didn't show it, like really didn't explain that there was that much time frame. So if you have a movie that spans like a 20-year period, and then you jump into, people are going to go, this didn't all take place in like overnight. And as Fellowship did, so
keep it secret. Keep it safe.
17 years later.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
There's got to be some narrative there.
Maybe he'll do like George Lucas and just do a special edition to the actual Fellowship and cut it through.
Just gonna add a little 20 years later at the corner.
It won't be too hard to do.
They could do like The Godfather, right, where they just keep adding it in chronological order. You can do one gigantic Lord of the Rings
Fellowship
from The Hobbit. And add in The Hunt for Gollum right at the beginning of Fellowship, and then go on to Return of the King.
That's what we do. That's what we do. Pick up the phone, call Dr. Britt now. We'll show you how to get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, I do it anyway. I have to put on from the beginning. I can't go right in the middle of it and do that. But but anyway, guys. So 5 episodes in. I think it's still an A++ series. 2 seasons in. It's an A++ series. I cannot wait to see where it goes. I'm not expecting too much out of this next episode, but maybe the last 2 I am like fireworks.
I don't know. I'm expecting, because they left it as such a
they did
point that I'm actually expecting next look. So far, every episode's been great. I haven't been disappointed. So I'm expecting to jump right into something else and go along again. Look, 3 episodes. Look, it's a shame that we're down to 3.
I know. I waited a long time for this.
I need another 10 episodes. What's going on here?
Good news is that they're filming season 3 now.
Yes.
So
nice. So maybe it's not going to be 2 years in between.
No.
I think they're like, we just gotta go. Let's do this, man. Like,
it's got to be at least, they've got to drop it at least once a year. I think at this point right now, I understand post-production, New Zealand and everything else,
especially a production like this. I mean, it takes some time,
Also, before we leave too, one thing is, if you're not watching Gettin Medieval to get your recaps, I would say that another great source material is over at Forbes.com. There's a writer named Eric Kane who's did extremely good recap as well in written format. You're going to have to read again, and a lot of people who read Tolkien are going to want to read.
Right.
He breaks it down with not only the Rings of Power, but he added in a lot of tokens, like what happened here, what happened there. So there's a lot of subtext in there that will actually catch you up as well, as long as you're watching us or reading him. So, I just wanted to throw that in.
Nice. Well, I think I'm done for today. I can't wait to view this next episode and get back in here to and do this all over again.
Absolutely. Yes. And when we get to this point of the show and everything, and this is the part that always breaks our heart, but it also makes us extremely happy, because we have to thank our sponsor, which is the Tashi Station Emporium. And guess what? We got a little something for that.
Awesome. Beautiful. I love it.
Absolutely.
For some beautiful stands.
Thank you.
Whether you have NECA, McFarlane, if you have Hasbro, these are the perfect stands. Like TMNT, GI Joe, whatever it is, the Tashi Station Appointment has got you covered. We always say this, but this is true. The best damn figure stands on the face of the planet. If you are not got 10 sent to you right now, what are you doing? Dark Butcher, anything else popping up with the station, Tashi Station Appointment? Any things that you're working on that we might be interested in?
Yeah. At the beginning of that clip there, you saw what appeared to be an Emperor's throne room in there, and I know you guys seen it in person. Yeah, I've been teasing it for a long time. I did a live premiere of it, but I am working on a 5-part little production miniseries on my YouTube channel, the Tashi Station Emporium YouTube, where I'm trying to grow for anybody who's interested in 3D printing in general and the collecting world and how those two worlds merge. But the one thing that I'm really hard working at is that Emperor's Throne Room, trying to get a build video out and commentary and the whole, because the thing is massive. It was a passion project that took a lot of time, and I feel like there's a lot of documentation that needs to be out there to people see. So look forward to that coming soon. I know I keep saying soon, but in the meantime, I drop all kinds of different things here and there.
It's a massive undertaking. It can't happen in 5 minutes. Believe me.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out a way how I can put it in my actual office. How I can do that and what I need to arrange and take off. But it's fantastic. But if you're not subscribed to the Tashi Station Emporium,
appreciate it.
Please do so. Also, you can catch Dark Moocher on our brother channel, the Starlight Digest Podcast YouTube channel. Wednesday night, if you're not watching Wednesday night, and first of all, you're not watching us on Toybox Chronicles or on the Shadows Network. If you're not watching Dark Moocher, Scott Solo, Grand Admiral Frets, every now and then the Fallen Fat. Then you are missing the best damn Star Wars YouTube channel on the planet, hands down. At the end of the episode, we'll have a little bit of a what you should be doing on your Wednesdays and your Fridays. Come back over here on Fridays to watch Pixel Plastic Inc. Myself, Dr. Brentling, will have Rad, and of course the Illmatic Chet Maddox will be on. So, hey, come spend your week with two of the best channels on the planet, and then get your fix for swords, dragons, and sorcery with Gettin Medieval. Any last words, gentlemen?
No, I'm in it, man. Forever, I'm in it. It's no fun without it. Join in, man. Join the conversation. That's why people join the conversation. Let's go. Let's be happy that we live in this time that we could talk about this right now.
Absolutely.
I love this series. It's a lot of fun. Check it out if you have any interest in Lord of the Rings. It's great.
Absolutely. So, like I said, thank you, Dark Moocher. Thank you, Dr. Brentley. I am Alexander Storm. And I'll just tell the editor this: Gettin Medieval, and throw that live stream information at the end. Thank you guys for watching.